Hello Kindred, Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com, and I've got 3 questions here, so I'm going to get right into them. The first one is from Nate, who is got a YouTube channel here, and it's Mahanomi, and I'll give you a link to it right here. And he's asking, in my opinion, what is the perfect diet for humans, and what must one do to get there? So I will be the first one to say there is no such thing as a perfect way to eat for anyone. There are definitely ideals and certain things that promote health more than others. And if you look around the world, there's so much confusion around what are we supposed to eat and what are the best things for us to eat, in my opinion, simply because it is so varied and we do all require different things. Now, I strongly believe that, and have seen with evidence, that the majority of our diet should be plant-based. If we could say that's the #1 thing, that would be it. If you look around at all the various longest-lived cultures, they eat a lot of plants. These ideas that high-meat diets or high animal product diets can promote longevity isn't true at all. There are definitely some areas of the world out of these longevity cultures that eat a little more animal products, 10% at most, maybe even 15%, 20% at the very most at certain times of the year. But 80% to 90% to 95% of their diet in all these cases is plant-based. So if I could make that as a blanket statement, it would be that the majority of the diet should be plants. Now when it comes to distribution of raw foods, to fermented cultured foods, to greens, to fruits, to grains, root vegetables, all these different combinations of food groups within plant foods and the proportions of them, that's ideal. It's a matter of one's situation, one's health, and what one can cope with. From what I've seen, humanity has adapted over the years to a continually changing diet. So a lot of people say, well, in the past, this is the one way we ate, and that is the ideal way we should be eating. But if you were to go even further back, or even more recently, humans have thrived at different times. So definitely, as humans, we can adapt very well to our environment and our diet and the way it changes. And that's generally what you see when someone makes a sudden drastic change to their diet, whether it's suddenly going raw, or if they've been raw for a long time and they haven't totally been doing it in a way that's promoting health, they suddenly start eating tons of cooked food and they feel great for a short period of time, and they're going to promote that diet that they've suddenly shifted to because they feel it's changing themselves. But realistically, because humans adapt and work with different things that they're taking in, when a sudden change happens that might be a little bit of a step in the right direction, but because they've developed a deficiency, they're going to overly promote that because they feel so good suddenly from adding this thing back in. So if you're going to be experimenting with your diet, I strongly recommend slow, incremental changes instead of sudden changes that are quite drastic, unless of course you're in an acute or chronic health disease that really needs to be corrected right away and you're working with a health practitioner, or if you're at a cleansing retreat or something like that. In those cases, a sudden change can be beneficial to wipe out toxicity or excess or whatever's causing your specific problem. So to sum it up, the perfect diet, in my opinion, for where humanity is at right now is going to include a lot of raw foods. It's going to include a lot of cultured foods, and it's going to include, again, the majority of it plant-based foods, but I'd also say not 100% vegan. And my reasons for that can go beyond what I could fit into this video right here, and I'll talk about that in a future video. So my next question is from Smiling Eyes 79 on YouTube, and they're asking what my opinion is on enzyme supplements, and if it's a good idea, and what brand would I recommend. I think enzymes are great, especially if you're just transitioning to raw food, because you're going to be getting used to your digestive process, switching over to a different way of digesting food. And a lot of people have problems with raw food because they either too suddenly made a change and their body didn't really completely adapt to it, or they just had chronically low enzymes from many years of eating cooked food. So your enzyme reserves and your body's ability to produce enzymes is going to be reduced if you've been eating cooked food for a long time. So with that being said, I'd say an enzyme supplement is sort of like not necessary, and it depends on your budget, what you're budgeting for supplements, superfoods, herbs, general diet. It would be on an outer ring in terms of whether you want to incorporate it or not. In the long term, I definitely say plan and plan on having the financial abundance in your life so that you can afford a great supplement such as an enzyme supplement. And it's interesting to note that raw foods, on average, only contain about 50% of the enzymes when they're fresh, live, raw, taken from the ground. They contain about 50% of the enzymes necessary to digest themselves through your body. So in raw food, people talk a lot about enzymes and how great they are because they're in raw food, but your body still has to use some enzymes to digest the food. So obviously when you're eating cooked food, you're wiping out all the enzymes and your food is even more difficult to digest, and 100% of the enzymes that are going to be digesting it are coming from your body, whereas with raw food about 50% are coming from your body. And if you add an enzyme supplement on top of that, you can effectively completely eradicate the need for your body to use up enzymes, which take a lot of time and energy and resources for your body to make. So the way you use an enzyme supplement is always to, if you're just transitioning to raw, is you take them about 15 minutes before a meal, or even right with the meal. Ideally a bit before, so they have, if they're in capsules, they have a chance to break open and be stewing in your stomach as the food's coming and mixes into it. Or you can open capsules up onto your food. And it's great with salads or anything that has a lot of bulk and fiber, and perhaps you don't have enough time to chew, although you should definitely be chewing as well as you can. In terms of enzyme supplements, there are plant-derived enzymes and animal-derived enzymes, and you can get all the ones you need from plants. So in my opinion, we don't need to use animal-derived enzymes at all because they're taking them from like the pancreas and the other glands of animals that have been killed. Number one, you're supporting the slaughtering of animals unnecessarily when you can get it from a plant source, and I believe if you can get it from a plant source, go with that. Some people talk about animal-based enzymes being easier for your body to use. However, in my experience, that hasn't been the case, and from people I've listened to, such as Dr. Brian Clement and Dr. Gabriel Cousins, they do say plant enzymes are better for the body. That could just be their bias if they have one, but they are in a clinical setting and they see the results of these things on people's blood work. So yes, go for a plant-based enzyme. And then also there's digestive enzymes and systemic enzymes. Digestive enzymes are more what you would use with food, whereas systemic enzymes are more to scavenge through the body and break up and eat away at necrotic tissue, like dead and dying tissue, or fibrotic tissue, basically any proteins that it can recognize that aren't doing your body good. So it's actually a different type of protein formation. So proteolytic or systemic enzymes eat away at this hardened, sort of gnarly tissue that's in your body that's not really calcification because it's not sediment, but it's actually a buildup of hardened tissue that is best broken down by these protein-eating enzymes. So yeah, you can use both, but you'd probably use more of the digestive enzymes in terms of quantity. You'd probably only take 1 or 2 capsules, depending on the concentration of a systemic enzyme. But the systemic enzyme, as far as I know, is more of an anti-aging type of enzyme, which would be great if you're going to have the budget for it, and then also a digestive enzyme you can use in addition if you have the budget for it, if you're working more on optimizing your digestion. The final question is from Marco Vela on Facebook, and I believe he's from Malta, so he's asking a question. I'll remember that. That's pretty cool. He's asking, what would I recommend naturally as something that could help with anxiety? If we were to talk about herbs, first of all, these are going to be, you're going to look at your Shen tonics, if we're talking about Chinese medicinal herbs, and these are sort of the more spiritual and emotionally calming herbs. So things like schizandra berries, holy basil, gotu kola, ginkgo biloba to a certain extent, although it is slightly more stimulating and it's not so much relaxing, but it is a Shen tonic. And then even the Jing tonics would be quite grounding and fortifying. It's hard to say, with anxiety is such a broad term, and depending on what it feels like in your body, this anxiety, if I were face-to-face with you, I'd ask you questions about it and recommend something a little more specifically, but your yin Jing tonics are going to be very calming, cooling, and relaxing. And in my experience, If I ever go through a period of being easily agitated or easily angered or just sort of not fully grounded feeling, Jing tonics are really where it's at in terms of giving me that deep presence of being in my body, out in the world, and not being quite so thrown off by other people's interactions and the way they come at me, if there happens to be interactions of that nature. So if we were to talk about yin Jing tonics, we look at Romania, glutinosa, and you can get these whole herbs at links below, the Shen tonics and the Jing tonics. I'll put a list of 2 of them, and you can choose from those if you're interested in purchasing those. Ho Shu Wu, you can get this in extract form or in whole root form, and you can make these into teas, and again that's below. And then also goji berry, that's available in an extract. And if it is really severe, and it's only something that comes on suddenly, and you want to have an antidote for that, like you've just had a really intense period, and this is a good medicinal herb. It's not something you would take every day, but it's something interesting to have this around the house to use in cases where you've had sort of like just happen to have a really intense day and you want to be able to get relaxed so that you can fall asleep at night. Is valerian, and it's quite sedative, has that sedative quality, so you take it in the evening to get you ready for the evening to fall asleep. But it's safe if you're using it on a short-term basis. And if we're talking about nutritional aspect of anxiety, you really want to look at deficiencies, either get blood work done. If this is something that has been constant and persistent, you should really look at your B vitamins, and bee pollen can be something you use to replenish B vitamins. It could be deficient in fat, it could be deficient in protein. Really it depends on your specific profile, and working with a practitioner can direct you in the best way to find a solution for that. And I just want to update you guys on my personal life. Next weekend I will be away for 3 days. I'm going up to my cottage with my girlfriend. It's going to be a great time. And so there won't be any videos over that period of time, obviously. If there's enough questions through the week, I'll post a Q&A. I'll still call it Q&A on Sunday, but it'll be on Tuesday. And I'll even post some videos of stuff I've taken up at the cottage. Maybe I'll find some cool herbs up there. I do have a very large patch of sarsaparilla that grows on my island that I've harvested before. Not the whole patch, obviously, but parts of it. And you can make this, it's the original root that was used to make root beer. And you make a tea with this and it tastes like a watered down root beer without the fizz or sugar. You can sweeten it or do whatever you want with it, but it's quite tasty, and it's actually has a bit of an androgenic quality. It also is very good and detoxifies the skin. It's actually, a number of years ago I had eczema on my face. To me it was the pivotal thing that helped clear that away finally, after doing several different things to work on my lifestyle and diet, etc. And then in the week after that I'm going to be moving. So I'm moving into a new apartment with my girlfriend. So she might be in more videos, maybe some of the recipe videos if she wants to participate in them. And I'll give you a tour of my new place when I move in there. So yeah, just that next week, after this upcoming week, there'll probably be a few less videos during that time period. So as always, ask questions throughout the week. I'm getting a larger influx of questions and comments on videos, Facebook, YouTube, all these different places. And it's getting to the point where it's slightly, I'm not necessarily getting to every single question all the time or right away. I'm doing my best, but if you have a pressing need to ask me questions, or you're wanting to get my opinion on something, and you have several questions, or you want to sort of get this ongoing conversation going with me, as much as I'd love to be able to do that with everyone, I'd highly encourage you to check out the link below to my website, where I have a phone consultation and email consultation page set up. I just added the email consultation part of it because it's more beneficial for some people depending on their schedule, and that is the best way to get my undivided attention. And I can make suggestions to things that might be of benefit to you, your lifestyle. It can be very specific, or you can work on a broad basis of your entire lifestyle. So with that, take care and embrace life without limits.